You're watching QTV broadcasting from the Gambia, and this is the news with me, Ansumana Eso Nyasi. First, the main local, business and international news headlines. In local news, the government and the UN country reps briefed the media on concrete actions being taken to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. A boost for the Department of Community Development as UNICEF donates motorcycles and a pickup car for the NSA Keno project. Accused of robbery with violence and conspiracy to commit felony, 5 suspects are in police custody awaiting trial. In business news, we look at the exodus of Ghana's tomato farmers. Also, a Cameroonian designer becomes the first black African to participate in and headline at the Paris Fashion Show. In international news, the World Health Organization might be about to issue a global health emergency. First, the local news in detail. The Gambia government, in partnership with UN country reps, on Wednesday held a press briefing on the concrete actions being taken to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals Agenda 2030. Amadou Oba attended the event and he now reports.
With a vision to implement projects for sustained, inclusive and economic growth for developing countries, the United Nations earmarked 2020 as the beginning of the final decade of action to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. This was an opportunity to brief the media on the country's achievements and challenges in achieving the SDG goals. With the theme, Taking Concrete Action to Achieve the SDGs, the event also marked the official launch of the Decade of Action 2020-2030 to galvanize efforts towards achieving SDG targets. The Minister of Finance, Mamoury Njie, says government's investment in implementing projects such as roads and electricity is a clear manifestation of their commitment to achieving the SDG targets.
I want to reiterate the government of the Gambia unflinching commitment to accelerate the implementation of the SDGs in the last decade. Our efforts will also include using very innovative approaches to ensure that no one is left behind by mobilizing everyone, everywhere.
The UN Resident Coordinator, Serafin Wakana, called on government to speed up its implementation of SDG targets, even though the Gambia has made significant progress in providing clean water for her citizens. She added that while the UN recognizes government's commitment to accelerate the agenda, it is encouraged to pursue an all-inclusive approach.
We are far from the world we want, but with only 10 years left to achieve the global goals by the 2030 deadline, there is a risk important SDGs will not be achieved, making it urgent for everybody to step up action to accelerate the implementation of SDGs and their targets. The Decade of Action calls on government, businesses, civil society, and individuals everywhere to create an unstoppable force to reach the goals by 2030.
By Lamin Job, Minister of Transport, says the recent completion of a 120 kilometers road in the North Bank region, which will open valuable land resources for farming, shows that his office prioritizes farmers' access to farmlands. He also disclosed that his office has secured funds for a 50-kilometer urban roads project.
We are trying very hard at the level of our ministry because we are going to provide the hardware, so to speak. And that's the only way we think this can be done. Now, we also are aware at the level of our ministry that the UN has the big picture. The UN has the intentions, but it's our country that has to achieve this.
The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015, provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet, now and into the future. Reporting for QTV News, I am Amadou Oba.
15 motorcycles and a Toyota pickup were donated on Tuesday by UNICEF as part of the NSA Kano project to the Department of Community Development under the Ministry of Lands and Regional Government. This story is by Malik Nyang and narrated by Bintu Koka.
The donation is to support the Department of Community Development in carrying out its functions of providing service delivery at grassroots. The Sakeno project seeks to strengthen and build the capacities of decentralized structures in Lower River, Upper River, and Central River regions. The Director, Department of Community Development, Ibrahim Sawane, gave an overview of the project and also spoke about the donation.
One of our key functions is extension delivery in the area of institutional and capacity building support to decentralized structures and communities. You may know that most of these communities or some of these communities are in very hard to reach areas, and these motorcycles and motor vehicle is to support us to reach to these communities and provide them the technical advice or support with regards to organizational and institutional capacity building issues.
The UNICEF resident representative Sandra Latouf said UNICEF and UNDP have been supporting the Ministry of Land since 2018 to ensure all community structures in LRR, URR and CRR North are capacitated on good governance, interpersonal communication, child protection issues and key household behavioral change. She further spoke about the success the project has had so far.
Since the Sakeno was launched, we have registered very good gain. Few of them are including the establishment of a national program coordination body, the mapping of community structure in LRR and URR, an ongoing one for CRR, the assessment of the capacity of Village Development Committee and World Development Committee are in progress and will help us to see how we can support them to be stronger.
The permanent secretary at the Ministry of Lands, Mariam Ndour Njai, said their ministry has recently engaged the Constitutional Review Commission on local governance matters to empower the local authorities.
Currently, services of various consultants are engaged to develop and review policies such as the Community Development Policy, the Multidisciplinary Facilitation Team Policy, the Local Government Finance and Audit Act, to enable the sector to address the current challenges confronting our decentralization and community development agenda.
The Department of Community Development is a technical department under the Ministry of Lands and Regional Government mandated to support the capacity building of decentralized structures for development. In October 2018, UNICEF provided 3 motor vehicles and 15 motorcycles to the Department of Community Development for effective implementation of the same project. Bintu Koka, QTV News.
5 suspects are in police custody awaiting trial for multiple charges of robbery with violence and conspiracy to commit felony. Alusise tells us more.
The police spokesperson ASP Lamin Jai told reporters at the police headquarters in Banjul that the arrest came after an investigation was launched following several reports from victims and concerned Gambians of robbery at different petrol stations. Joining the press briefing was the Police Assistant Inspector General of Police, Alhaji Demba Sow, who described the arrest as another demonstration of the police commitment towards providing security for lives and property. The suspects are alleged to have gotten away with money ranging from $21,000 to $109,000. The Assistant Inspector General of Police, Dambaso, has this advice. Despite logistical constraints, he gave assurance that the police won't relent in serving the public. The investigation continues as 5 more suspects are said to be at large. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliu Sise.
The Small Ruminants Production Enhancement Project under the Ministry of Agriculture recently concluded a regional sensitization tour with stakeholders and beneficiaries to discuss the project's overall objectives and expected outcomes. Ajibintu Drame reports.
The Small Ruminant Production Enhancement Project was launched in October 2019 to contribute to the improvement of the livelihood in rural and pre-urban communities in the Gambia by strengthening the productivity and resilience of production systems and to stimulate entrepreneurship in the livestock sector. Ibrahima Ojalo, the president of National Livestock Owners Association, urges farmers to take up responsibility of the project, to operate independently rather than depending on other countries for ruminant farming.
Mansi ndol Gambia dingol la jang ndol Senegal nga hamele pour nga doko ke ay molsi.
The Gambia government gave us $26 million for easy management of small ruminants. If you are lucky to be part of this project, please take it seriously. It is a loan and we have to make sure we honor the terms and conditions of the loan. The reason for this is to make our lives easier. I am hopeful this project will be implemented because it has been handed to the right people.
Momodu Lamin Jobate, chief of Fonyi Bintang Karanai, says farmers should be dedicated and work harder in implementing the project.
I am appealing to everybody to make sure this project does not fail. Rearing animals is not new to us. Let us be dedicated and work harder to reach the target. I am also calling on the authorities to guide us in implementing the project.
Mahmoud Njai, project director, also shares similar thoughts.
It is important for us to know the purpose of this project, or else you cannot succeed. The government has helped us to improve the livelihood of the people.
Agriculture is the most important sector in the Gambia's economy and one of the priority areas of development. Lamin Jata, Vice President of National Livestock Owners Association, says the project will definitely help improve the living standards of farmers.
This
is a very important day because such a project to help farmers improve is unique. I also believe that we will make good use of it and help others too.
Ajibintu Drame, QTV News.
As part of its ongoing efforts to develop the skills of the less privileged children, Dinding Yiriwa Federation, a child fund affiliated organization, on Monday donated footballs and valuable learning materials to sports committees and schools in West Coast region. Alusise reports.
The ceremony in Sif was also the presentation of footballs and learning materials to deserving school children and sports committees within Combo North and South. Aliu Mendy, the manager of Dinding Yiriwa Federation, said the federation has been intervening in the region supporting children's development.
Package composed of school bag,
set box and 10 pieces of exercise book to help their parents in providing school materials, to reduce the burden from the parents on school materials actually. For the entire Combo North and Combo South, on the side of school-going package, which is the school bag and the exercise books and set box, we're distributing 1,305 sets of this material to the same quantity or number of children. On the side of football, we are distributing 390 pieces of football to 18 sport committees in Combo South and Combo North, and also 10 CAs, that is CA, our community association, that is our catchment area as Dindi Irwa, and other institutions actually within Combo North and Combo South.
The donated materials he added are expected to impact positively on the beneficiaries in terms of promoting quality education and sports development.
The football is geared towards enhancing sports in the community. We all know what football is all about in this 21st to the 22nd century. It's all about football, and it is it's a game that is really widely watched, and then you can earn a lot of resources out of it. You can feed yourself and even feed your family and even the nation at large.
The Federation's intervention has been highly welcome as it brings joy to many who could not afford learning materials for their children. Fatimata Choi of Sifoloa Basic School thanked the Ngirwa Federation.
I want to thank them today. I am very, very happy.
With this intervention, parents and sports committees are expected to make best use of the materials for development of sports and the children's education. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliu Sise.
And from that report by Aliu Sise, we take a short commercial break. But when we return, we hear of the dreadful consequences of cheap and subsidized imports for Ghana's tomato farmers. And in international news, we hear how Ethiopia won a landmark court judgment to protect a major component of its national dish. Join us after the break for these stories and more, as well as some sports news.
QCell is at it again with its brand new free mobile app.
Oh yes! Now you can access the wonderful world of QCell with the new app and get all your favorite services on the app. There's no need to remember any codes.
Fantastic! No more codes. And even better, with the new app, you can live stream QTV and listen to Q Radio on your phone anywhere, anytime.
Yes! Listen to Q Radio Live, purchase your Q Power tokens, use your Q Money wallet, and do much more, all for free on the app.
Go now and download the app for free from Play Store or the App Store.
And you can get 30 days free QTV streaming once you download the app. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's because it's QCell, the network you trust for great things. QCell, a decade of innovation.
A lifetime of trust.
Standard Chartered brings you Festive Cheer this season. It's the season of giving, and we have some amazing gifts to boost your festive mood. You definitely will be spending more on family and friends this season. So, we have some wonderful offers and discounted rates to take care of all your financial needs. Talk to us about how you can enjoy the best from our loans and overdrafts. We know you want to shop more and eat out with your loved ones. So, get access to exciting discounts from your favorite stores and restaurants with our world-class Visa debit cards. Get a Standard Chartered Visa Platinum on Gold debit card for free and enjoy a world of privileges here in the Gambia and abroad. Access more funds and enjoy the good life with Standard Chartered. Call us on 392-5951, 420-2275, 352-7714, or visit any of our branches today. After all, 'tis the season of festive cheer, so live your best life on us this season and spread the cheer. Standard Chartered, here for good.
In business news, the flood of cheap imports from China, the US and the EU has driven Ghana's tomato industry to ruin. Desperate farmers find themselves having to seek work elsewhere, including in Europe. For some of them, This has meant taking what is known in Gambia as back way to get to Europe. Ironically, some of them end up getting poorly paid jobs with some of the heavily subsidized European farms that force them to give up farming and leave their home country. Factories that once helped secure the livelihood of tomato farmers across Ghana, today it lies empty with little prospect of being revived. Iman Ayesi not only joined fashion's creme de la creme by taking part in this year's Paris Fashion Show, the Cameroonian also shakes up the stereotype of African materials by refusing to use wax prints, which he dismisses as colonial. Instead, he prefers to work with indigenous materials, as he rightly says, colorful Dutch wax cloth, often and for decades erroneously described as typical African fabric, are in fact a European idea of what African fabric is. Not only is Ayesi the first black African to take part as a designer, he has the honor of having his show close the event. In international news, is a global health emergency about to be announced? The World Health Organization could be about to classify the new coronavirus outbreak, which has reached the US, as a global emergency. The virus has now infected 440 people and killed 9 in China, officials said. A preliminary investigation appears to have identified the source as a fish and animal products market in. Part of the worry over the outbreak is because the disease has never been seen in humans before, and although the number of people affected is growing, there are fears that the real figures is as yet unknown, as a decision or announcement by the WHO is expected in the next few days. Ethiopia triumphed in the fight against biopiracy. To Ethiopians, theft is what maize is to Mexico and rice is to China. It is the country's most important foodstuff, the basis for the national dish injera, a soft, spongy, pancake-like bread, and an important part of its cultural heritage. Farmers in the Ethiopian highlands started cultivating teff 3,000 years ago. In a significant victory against what is known as biopiracy, Ethiopia has won a court victory over a Dutch company which had somehow managed to get a patent on the cereal. The result is being that in some European countries, no flour from the gluten-free and nutrient-rich supergrain may be sold without paying royalties to the Netherlands. The court's decision is about to put an end to that. And over now to sports in just a moment. And here to help me unpack today's sports stories is my colleague Aliu Sisi. Aliu, what do you have for us today?
Thank you very much, Ansumana. We're starting with transfer news because the Real de Banjul and Gambia's under-20 defender James Gomez has completed a move to AC Horsens in Denmark on a loan until the end of the season with an option to make a final deal. The signing ceremony was attended by the Real de Banjul's president Will Abraham and the players' representative Modlamin Biai. Gomez is the third player to have joined the club from Real de Banjul after Famara Jaju and Babakar Sane. From there, we now move to wrestling because the much-awaited bout between Leket Bubara and Franz of Banjul has been signed by Jam Promotion. We earlier on spoke to the public relations officer of the Gambia Wrestling Federation, Ibrahim Suare, about the importance of this bout to wrestling in the country. And now to Egypt, where a 74-year-old man has signed for a 6th October club, a 30-year side in Egypt called the 6th October. In Badri has joined the club.
Quite an interesting story there. But let me bring you back home. Wrestling is one of the main sporting disciplines we have in this country. And here we have two household names, Leket Bubara and Franz. A very big bout.
Indeed, a very big bout. We all know Leket as being one of the most respected wrestlers in the country. And of course, France is also another outstanding wrestler, even though we understand France is coming back from a suspension after a difference with the wrestling promoters in the country. So it's about that many are looking forward to in June, and then it promised to be a mouth-watering encounter.
Indeed, a very big bout there between Leket Bubara and France of Banjul. But just a quick one, the last story that you did on this 74-year-old Egyptian who's signed a professional contract with a third-tier team. Quite inspiring story there.
Indeed, like when I saw this story, I was like, okay, 74-year-old and he's still signing for the club. And guess what? They have now invited the Guinness Books of World Records to come and watch him play his first game, and perhaps to have him in the record books as the oldest player to have played professional football, because he is someone that was not well known in Egyptian football. So it's quite interesting story, and perhaps we might not expect to see the likes of Mr. Ade signing for another club.
Unbelievable. Well, thank you very much. My colleague Alice said they are giving us a rundown of today's sporting stories. I'm afraid that brings us to the end of this edition of the news. But before we take a leave of you, here's a recap of our main headlines. In local news, the government and the UN country reps briefed the media on concrete actions being taken to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. A boost for the Department of Community Development as UNICEF donates motorcycles and a pickup car for the NSA Keno project. Accused of robbery with violence and conspiracy to commit felony, 5 suspects are in police custody awaiting trial. In business news, we look at the exodus of Ghana's tomato farmers. And a Cameroonian designer becomes the first black African to participate in and headline at the Paris Fashion Show. In international news is a global health emergency about to be announced. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of the news. Do join us tomorrow for more news. Until then, on behalf of the entire production team, thanks for watching.